this is earth-shattering, okay? This is huge. Look at this headline from Al Jazeera. They say, China agrees to pay for Russian gas in rubles and yuan, in renminbi. That's the Chinese currency. Russia energy giant Gazprom says that it has signed an agreement with China to start payments for gas supplies in rubles and yuan instead of US dollars, in a sign of warming relations between Beijing and Moscow. I wouldn't call it just a warming of ties or relations. I would call this a screw you to the West. That's what I would call it. I mean, this is huge. And what is this? What does this come after? Well, we had several things. You remember Saudi Arabia was having these discussions with China on what to price the oil in? Because remember, the thing that gives the Americans all their economic power, that gives the US dollar, it's a prestige. And the reason everybody uses US dollars as the global reserve currency is because all of the petroleum sales are denominated in US dollars, okay? So you know that it's backed by something. It's not gold, but it's oil, and oil is vital. And Saudi Arabia, of course, has had this agreement with the Americans for decades that, if you guys in Saudi Arabia, you agree to sell oil exclusively in US dollar, then in return, we will give you security, we'll give you weapons, etc., so on. And Saudi Arabia is now basically looking at what's happening in Ukraine, at what's happening, how the West and their sanctions blowing up in their face, and saying, you know what? I think we will work with the Chinese because they look like smart guys. In addition to that, India is buying oil from Russia. Why is that significant? Number one, because India is saying, screw you and your sanctions, I'm not complying. And number two, India did that at a discount. Number three, even more significant, India did not pay in US dollars. India is paying in rupees and rubles. So just like petroleum sales in US dollars give the US dollar, its prestige, and they add value to it, it's backed by something. Same thing is equally true whether you buy gas in rubles or rupees, right? Those currencies also get stronger. You're buying more of that currency. So now you have, in addition to China and Saudi Arabia discussing this, you have actually, hard currency, hard cash being used, Russian money. So, rubles and rupees being used to buy oil. In addition to that, what did the Russians tell the Europeans? They said, in spring, that the Europeans, if they want gas, they have to buy it not in euros, not in dollars, in rubles. Again, this is good for the ruble. And now China saying that it wants to pay and will pay in rubles. I cannot tell you how fucking stupid these politicians in the West are. I would be screaming if I were in their place. I would jump out a window, man. I would jump out the window. How stupid can you be? How stupid can you be to do this to yourself? This is so dumb. Why would you do such a thing? You basically made sure that China and Russia are like this, right? They're in each other's arms. They're new lovers. And India does not care about your sanctions. And they're staying smart. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. They are so stupid. Here's another thing. Look what we have over here. So at the Eastern Economic Forum, you have a top legislator from the Chinese side that went over there, okay? Li Zhanshu attended the 7th Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok this week. So I showed you some clips of Putin speaking there, right? His reaction to this price cap. And he's the most senior Chinese official to visit Russia since the Ukraine war began. Again, very significant, very, very significant. This guy is the chairman of the National People's Congress Standing Committee. And he's going to do, this is just one leg of his trip. But nevertheless, in diplomacy, in international relations, body language, that which is not spoken carries the most weight. In addition to that, what do we have on top of it? Military exercises. Okay? You have joint military drills between Russia and China. They have war games, as they're also known. These are also taking place in the East. The week-long exercise is intended to showcase growing defense ties between Russia and China, and also demonstrate that Moscow has enough troops and equipment for the massive drills even while its forces are engaged in fighting in Ukraine. Okay? So the Vostok 2022 exercise, as it's called, runs until Wednesday at 7 firing ranges in Russia's Far East and the Sea of Japan, involves more than 50,000 troops and over 5,000 weapons units, including 140 aircraft and 60 warships. The Chinese, on their side, sent more than 2,000 troops, 300 military vehicles, 21 combat aircraft, and 3 warships. Okay? Let me show you just for context what we're talking about. Sea of Japan and the East China Sea. This is the domain. And of course, this is all the more significant because the Chinese are also, they're looking at Nancy Pelosi, who's the House Speaker, visiting Taiwan recently. The United States forming AUKUS with Australia and Britain. All of these things that we've talked about, right? How Taiwan might potentially become the next Ukraine. What do I mean by that? I mean that, you're going to have this sweeping global support all of a sudden for independence in Taiwan. And then that's going to be, the thorn in China's side. They have others, of course, which we've talked about, but China is not comfortable with this, and Russia expressed support when they saw Nancy Pelosi visiting, making an official visit to Taiwan, as if it's as if it's separate from China, like as if it's its own country. The Russians were not quiet, and the reason they're running these military drills are threefold, right? As we've said, they're showcasing closer defense ties, but also the Russians are showing that they have the Chinese back and that they also have enough troops to send to exercises and war games, even though they're, in conflict in Ukraine. Another thing that's coming up, a face-to-face meeting between the leaders themselves, the Russian president, Putin, and Xi Jinping, so the Chinese president. So they're going to meet together at a summit in Uzbekistan. We're talking about SCO, so this is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and it's going to take place in Samarkand between September 15th and 16th. Okay? So, again, not just delegates going to economic forums, not just military drills, not just buying gas and rubles, but also face-to-face meeting. And that is their first since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, as it says in the article. Again, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what's happening. Okay? They don't want to hear it. You're not allowed to say this in the West. But this is what is happening. The Chinese, the Russians, India, Iran, all of the global south, they are moving away from the West. And in the West, people are suffering blowback from the sanctions, and they have shot themselves in the foot. I don't know how many times I've said this, because every other day, every other week, there's some new development, and it just once again proves the point that they've shot themselves in the foot. The fact that people are feeling just a little taste of what sanctions mean in the West, I wouldn't say that it's okay, because the politicians are okay, right? It's their own people that are getting hurt, but they don't care about them. They don't care about them, and they are too stupid to see that they have really made some erroneous decisions when it comes to foreign policy. I really don't think that they thought they would have screwed up so much. I don't think they predicted that. Again, that doesn't mean the Russians also did everything, as they had planned. I think as they love to say, Putin miscalculated. I don't know if miscalculated, but he seems to be coming out better than the West, I would say, right? If you are in the State Department, if you are in Whitehall, these are the last things that you want to see right now.